Winter is nearly upon us. The Formula Sim Racing World Championship and the main ladder series have been settled, but that has only left us wanting more. And so for the next few months, we have before us the Race IndyPRO Series by FSR, brought to you by IMB Raceway, SimLab and 3D Wrap. 6 rounds of racing on some of North America's hardest circuits, from the bumps of Sebring to the roller coaster of VIR, throwing a couple of ovals in there for good measure. The season begins and ends here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. The Grand Prix layout, the DW12, and 2 races ahead of us this evening. A difficult car and a fixed setup. Those of you who caught the AM race earlier today would have seen that this car is pretty difficult, but in the hands of 30 of the best sim racers on R Factor 2 and a format set to provide thrilling racing, we should be in for a treat. Taking you through the season then, myself, Lewis McGlade, alongside me, Ewan O'Leary. Ewan, hello and welcome to the Indy Pro Series.
Yeah, good afternoon, Lewis, or good evening, and good evening to everyone at home as well. Very excited to be alongside you for this one. It should be a very exciting night of racing, as there will be for 6 nights in the next couple of months, along a very diverse list of tracks, which I'm very much looking forward to, actually. It should be very good. Here they are in all their glory. Indy first, and then Portland next week. Week off, and then Sebring, which is going to be very, very bumpy indeed. And as you mentioned, a bit of a roller coaster at VIR before a couple of ovals to round off the season. That is going to be very interesting indeed, because as I was talking about with Cam in the AM series, we've never really seen oval racing work that well in sim racing. So I think that FSR have brought together a list of rules here to create a fantastic season, and hopefully some very good oval races towards the end as well.
Absolutely. The oval finale should be quite intriguing as to how that one's going to play out. Of course, we are in a qualifying session to open the evening. There are a couple of races ahead of us. We'll get more into that format later on. We'll talk you through the qualifying format that you can see in front of you. Basically, pretty simple. Each driver gets 9 laps. Effectively, that means 3 stints, because they're only allowed to do 1 flying lap per stint. So they don't have very long. They don't have many stints. It is a private session, so there is no one else on circuit at the time. And yeah, basically as simple as that.
Yeah, it is pretty simple, really. There's no traffic to deal with, which is a good thing with the amount of cars we have out here at the moment. Nearly 30, I think, at last count, as Alan Terzic gets over the line but doesn't set a time. And now we're really going to start to see the times really flooding in, as you can see, already into the low 11s, as you would be expecting, and straight away into the 10s, actually, with Toman. That is a good lap time to start us off, but immediately it is very, very close indeed.
Yeah, we would suspect that would be the case. Obviously, said it's a fixed setup. I think there are some slight things that can change. Something about ARBs they can ever so slightly change, but realistically, it's not going to make much of a difference. It's more of like a comfort thing for the drivers. So realistically, it's down to what you can do in the car, and this car is very, very difficult to drive. You can see they're driving around on the red-walled option tyre, and there are 2 tyre compounds in this series. And how they have to run that across the event we will get into, but in this qualifying, obviously you're just going to take the softest compound. There is a little bit of, quite a large actually, jump between the 2 compounds. You can see on your screen with the overlay that we've got who's going green, who's going purple. Alex Siebel, one who's going very quick through the first sector, fairly fast through the second, as Petr Berliak goes on to pole position ahead of Dennis Jordan at 10.709. Expect this qualifying session to be very close on board with Siebel to the line. Goes 7th place.
Not bad for a starting off lap time, but his teammate Dennis Jordan has just done a lot better there a moment ago. 14 thousandths of a second off of Petr Berliak, who has set the early pace. Janus Braxok just coming through the final corner now, really running it out wide, almost onto the grass through the final corner there. Can only manage 25th. We can only imagine that there was a mistake on that lap, because that is not what we're accustomed to seeing from Braxok. He's a very consistent driver, actually. Not one who's likely to set the timing balls alight with a particular lap time. However, he will not spin, he will not crash, and he will set almost exactly the same amount of lap, or the same time, the same lap time throughout the whole of a stint. He is a very, very consistent driver.
Yes, absolutely. He was point scores in every one of the first 9 races in the FSR World Championship in 2020. The only race he failed to score points in was unfortunately the final race of the series. So a bit of a shame for him in that one. One who made a series debut last year in the World Championship was Evolution Motorsports. Had a very, very impressive run for the season, nearly won the championship. They're here with that lineup of Dennis Jordan, Alex Siebel. We currently ride on board with Chinchik, who's throwing his car around the circuit towards the final section of the track. Purple in the first sector, very nice. Not so great in the middle, took a lot of curb there on the run out of the second sector and spins it out. That is very easy to do, so prepare yourself for seeing a bit of that this evening. And here's one of the One Acco cars. Taco time, Ricardo Costa. They've got a few of these out on the grid, including some maybe not so open wheel specialists. Boa Milan and Chris Shepherd down in 24th and 25th place for that outfit. Whoa, and there's a slide. Very easily done. They're pushing so hard. They're on the very, very limit of the car. And with it being a setup like this, it is pretty tricky to drive whilst all that's gone on. Mr. Alan Terzic with a stint in hand. He can still do another one. 4 minutes left to go in the session. Sets the fastest time, a 10.5. A 10th and a half clear of Janis Brackshot.
Yeah, the guy that tuned the car for the whole series is unsurprisingly leading it. He's going to be one of the favourites for this. A very, very fast driver in his own right. And he's got a very fast teammate alongside him as well, Matteo Caruso. They are going to be a pairing to be reckoned with, although we haven't quite seen Caruso's pace just yet. We will see it a bit later on, I'm sure, as Eros Mashuli comes over the line at the moment. 10th position for him. Nice. 5 tenths away, but Terzic at the moment, 10th and a half, that's quite a big margin. If you look at the other margins that we've got down the order, they're really, really close, less than half a tenth. And anything more than that is quite uncommon, really, if you look down the rest of the field. But Terzic having over a tenth on anybody is very, very impressive indeed. However, this man, Jurnej Simončić, is going to aim to do something about that. He is going very well at the moment. Also, Siebel, who's fastest again in the first sector. That seems to be where he's at home. As Simončić comes over the line now, he goes into third.
Nice work. So Alex Siebel ended up in second place in all of that as well. So cutting that deficit down to Terzic. Now only less than a tenth between the top three. Things continuing to remain tight. Like I say, 29 car field, and to be fair with Indy, it is not an easy circuit. It's very, very tricky. A lot of medium speed corners, a lot of awkward corners as well for the race. I think we're going to see some pretty spectacular racing. Bit of a lock up there from Berliak, and it's just going to send him off. Of course, in FSR, it's his debut drive for the Williams esports outfit, and he seems to be settling in a little bit there. Of course, jumped from Edge Esports over to Williams Esports. We weren't too sure if we were going to see much more of the ex-world champion, the 2015 world champion in the FSR, any of the series really. But here he is in the IndyPRO Championship. This lap's not really going to count for much. No,
he went well wide at turn 10, which has been a bit of a hotspot for action in qualifying so far. But we're under 2 minutes to go now, and Alan Terzic is currently out there trying to improve on his lap time, pulls it to the right-hand side to shorten off the distance as much as possible. Does he improve? Yes, very, very marginally. 21 thousandths of a second he improves by, just extending that margin ever so slightly. And now Chinchik is going to try and do something about it. He's just under 5 tenths away, though, and a little bit struggling, actually, into turn 12. Yeah, struggling with the rear of that car, just slipping and sliding all over the place whilst all that happens. Schuch went to P9, 4 and a bit tenths off of the pole time. What does Chinchik do? Towards the line. Could be a decent time at least. Goes 7th, 2 tenths off of pole, 4 thousandths behind Dennis Jordan. Who else have we got on a lap? Kalashai down in 20th place, going PB first sector, PB second. Yuka Pakalalu as well in 16th place, looking pretty decent. What's the time going to be? Decent first and decent second, and a good improvement here. We'll move up towards the 15th place, I would assume. Where's it going to go? To 12th. Not bad. Nice work. Yeah, that is nice there from Clocksite. And now we're going to see what Chinchik can do in 8th position. It seems that he's going again here, which is unorthodox to say the least, but he is definitely pushing. Whether he's pushing to, and that was a bit of a corner cut as well at turn 10, but he's getting away with it at the moment. You don't normally get away with that much curb, actually. You do normally get a big slide, and it really hurts your exit down here into turn 12. I just wonder if he's actually getting around here quickly so that he can get another lap in. There's 10 seconds to go. It's going to be close, and that is going to be it for Chinchik. But Brackshot is definitely in the running here for a good result and a good qualifying position, currently in 5th, and it's not going to take much to push himself onto those front 2 rows. He's going to stick to the right-hand side as always and come across the line now. It's going to be not quite.
No
He didn't manage it in the end, but Simracers is going quickly.
Yeah, that's the first qualifying session for Janis Brakshock in HME. Of course, we found out in the World Championship in the final race of the season from Tom Satherley that it was Janis Brakshock's final race for Go Speed. Moves over to that, so a debut drive for him in that team. We ride on board then with your 2019 and 2020 FSR World Champion, gone back to back in that. It's a good first sector, but really that middle's not good. Look at how close he is to the line. Is he going to go to second over it? No, he is not. Stays third. Alan Terzic on pole position. Fantastic for him. Here's another one on a lap. Noah Roivers, who's a good 6/10 off of that pole time at the moment. That's actually looking pretty healthy for a top 10. No, not so much. 13th is all he can get, but still a decent improvement. But yeah, Alan Terzic, pole position. Jean Lacey Esports, another driver who's moved teams. Of course, he was part of Singularity or Need to Velux, did a few rounds, I recall, at least one in the FSR World Championship last season. Moves to Jean Lacey Esports Academy, teammate of Matteo Caruso, who only qualified in 25th place, so showing how impressive Alan Terzic's driving ability is, at least in this car. You kind of expect it, but nevertheless, done very well there, Ewan.
He has indeed taken pole, nearly a 10th of a second. Alex Siebel, good drive from him actually in second. Impressed with that to out-qualify Simicic, which you'll be delighted with. Martin Stefanko in 4th there, ahead of Janis Brakshock and Petter Burlak, who might be a little bit disappointed. And then Dennis Jordan in 7th. Interestingly, 6 different teams in the 5 different teams in top 5, should I say, because Burlak and Stefanko have easily done the best of those who are in the same team. But Siebel and Jordan, who are often very, very close on pace, it's well, they do obviously practice a lot together, but they're always incredibly close together. And could probably race each other a little bit more if they were not teammates, but they are, and they're going to be nice to each other, of course. Here's 11 to 20th, but one thing I'm really disappointed to see, obviously it's not too late and they can turn it around, but One Acco are pretty much nowhere in that qualifying session. But yeah, that's not good for them. Ricardo Costa down in 19th position. One Acco Black Ballast 4, and then obviously they've got the other team with another 3 drivers. Was really expecting good things from them actually. Got Jeffrey Fournier, Chris Shepherd and Boya Milan also there, but look at them, 3 of them are in the bottom 4 right now. That's such a shame to see those guys down there. And there's your 21 to 29. We are missing Darry Mrozek here today, by the way, but on a normal day we would have 30 on this grid. Okay, so now that we've done the qualifying session, we've got the race coming up here in a few moments' time. However, we've got a few adverts and a track guide with the one and only Michi Hoyer to come first.
Welcome to the Race Indy Championship by FSR. We're sitting in the Dallara DW12. We are starting our flying presentation lap for round 1 on the Indianapolis Grand Prix circuit. Across the line, approaching turn 1, the best overtaking spot, lots of slipstream into a heavy late braking zone. Be careful with that curb on the inside, don't want to touch it, but immediately open up the entry for turn 2, then carry the speed flat out turn 3. Early braking, stay all the way up on the inside turn 4 as the car becomes twitchy, while you want to open up the entry to that chicane we just flew through there. Onto the back straight, approaching turn 7. Again, be careful with a high curb on the inside. A quick chicane, right, left. Stay all the way to the inside here because you want to maximize that entry speed as the power kicks in again on the car. Hard to control there on the exit into another late braking zone. Once again, one of these high curves, you definitely want to miss them. A narrow turn to the left before all the way up on the power. Once again, the power kicks in at the high revs and across the line. That is 1 lap around the Indianapolis circuit, and now we see the Pro and AM drivers to battle it out.
Nearly ready to go then for the first race of the Race IndyPRO Championship by FSR, with thanks to IMB Raceway Sim Lab and 3D Wrap, and of course thanks to Mitchy Hoyer, our honorary track guide. Man, he's done good work over the last year or so with the FSR track guide, so much appreciated, especially from a World Championship race winner. Coming here though, he's qualified in 9th place, so those Mitchy Hoyer fans in the crowd maybe wanting a little bit more, but the race is where everything happens. We've got a 12-lap race ahead of us, and I thought that now, Ewan, is the perfect time to sort of talk through how the tyre rule works. We could discuss this at length as to what we're going to do, but we don't really have that much time before the race starts. Basically, across the 2 races that we have, we've got a 12-lap race and a 40-lap race. Across that entire time, they have to run twice the prime tyre, the hardest compound tyre that we have. Now, whether you run that prime tyre 1 in the sprint race and then 1 in the feature race with a couple of softs, or whether you run a soft tyre in the sprint race to try and get a grid order and then run the rest in the feature race, you run the 2 primes in the feature race. However you do it, fill your boots, do it however you wish. You and I don't know how I do it, but that's going to create some feisty racing.
Well, yeah, I'll tell you what it is. It's a headache for all of these at the moment, because you've got likely 4 stints if you take out this sprint and feature race compartment. We're expecting a 2-stop in the feature race, which consists of 3 sets of tyres, of course. However, they could go for an audacious 1-stop strategy, which can be pulled off if you save fuel enough. However, from seeing the AM race yesterday, they couldn't make 19, and they were actually struggling to make 17 laps in the AM race. So if somebody goes for the 1-stop here today, then I'll be truly gobsmacked. However, as I mentioned, 4 stints over the 2 races. It's basically a 50-50 split. You've got 2 runs on the prime, at some point, and then you've got 2 runs on the alternate, the red striped tyres. It's just a question of when you do them, because the grid for race 1 also sets the grid for, the end result of race 1, should I say, sets the grid for race 2. So track position in race 1 in the sprint race is probably going to be important, but you've also got the points to throw in there. You obviously get a lot more points for winning the feature race than you do for winning the sprint race.
There is actually, I do remember having a conversation with Cameron about this. There is actually so the race 1 order, the top 8 to 12, where we'll pick a random number. The top 8 to 12 get reversed to create some extra spicy racing action. But there's some extra spice for you. You say about the 1-stop strategy, that's going to be pretty tight. Depends entirely on how this race pans out. We're very curious to see what people are starting the shortened 12-lap race with. We're almost ready to go, and we'll see what that grid order looks like after the qualifying, that tight qualifying session. Alan Terzic grabbing that pole position. Alex Seibor alongside. Impressive qualifying from him. Jene Simoncic and Martin Stefanko. Then Janis Brakshok, Peter Berliak, Dennis Jordan, Marcel Chinchik, the top 8. Outside of that, Mitchy Hoyer qualified in 9th place. Decent, maybe a little bit disappointing for the Burst Simplexity esports drivers. I'm sure he's got a lot of fans watching away. Yuri Toman, Zolt Schuks, and then Yuka Pekalalu rounding out the 6th row of the grid. Noah Roivers leads Adam Maguire, then Eros Musculi. That's a surprise that he's that far down. And then David Kalotshite, Luke Maguire, Michael Francesconi, Ricardo Costa, and Phil Kraus. Phil Kraus down in 20th place. There's going to be a lot of people charging to the front of this, especially dependent on what tyres they take. Liam Duval leads the 10th row of the grid, ahead of Jan Vosnica, Danny Van Der Neet, and Zoltan Hives in 24th place. Matteo Caruso, teammate of the man who got pole position, ahead of Jeffrey Fournier, Chris Shepherd. Those two obviously very, very good friends. Cas Rietveld down in 28th place. And then the final row of the grid sees Borja Milan. I think there's been an issue for Liam Duval, but I'm sure that'll be rectified immediately. Ewan, how is this race going to pan out?
Well, to be honest, I've got no idea, but I'm very interested to see that pretty much everybody has gone for the prime tyres. Burlak, Maguire, another Maguire, Duval, Woznica, and Caruso and Shepherd have gone for the mediums. The alternate strategy, the red striped tyres.
Okay,
however, most people have gone for the primes, as you can just hear in the background. The race director and safety car, pace car driver Cam Roger just tells everybody to grid up and slow down to 80 k's an hour, which they will hold all the way to the apex of turn 14, when it is then under Alan Terzic's discretion when he goes. He's in control of the field, and when he wants to floor it any time from there and to the start line, he's got the option to just go for it and catch those in behind by surprise. So let's see what happens on this restart, and how is Burlak going to do on those alternate red stripe tyres.
We are ready to go then, 12 laps ahead of us. We'll keep an eye on Petr Berliak down the order on the softer option tyre. Alan Terzic on pole position. Alex Siebel leading him round the final corner. Your double world champion directly behind, and Martin Stefanko leading that second row. Alan Terzic has gone. He has gone away from the order and absolutely bolted. Keep your eye on the mid-pack as Alex Siebel dropped back Jerne Simoncic, so isn't fighting that position. But behind that, everything's happening. Janis Brakshock, Dennis Jordan down the inside. Martin Stefanko trying to hold firm all the way around the outside of the German. On the inside for the next corner through turn 2. Touch of contact between the two. Oh, Dennis Jordan nearly all over the place and over the grass. Drops down the order. That's only a position to him, though. Petr Berliak wasn't quite close enough to take advantage of that. Michi Hoyer up for position on Yuri Toman up towards 8th. Petr Berliak now sensing a move here and needs to make them go quick. It is only a 12-lap race. He's on the inside of Dennis Jordan on the back straight. Is he going to commit on the brakes? No, he doesn't, but Dennis Jordan surely going to run wide. A bit of a lock-up on the front left tyre. My goodness me, around the outside goes Petr Berliak. Nice move. 6th place goes his way. A second clear is Alan Terzic.
Yeah, he's had a fantastic jump there as Terzic getting that gap, and he's held it as well around the first lap. And not a great start for Berliak, I have to say. I was expecting him to make some progress on lap 1, but in the end he was ending up making up ground from what he'd lost a moment ago. Jordan is back down to where he started basically, but apart from the front 6 or 7 or so, it is total chaos in the background. There's just one long line, as you can see, as they all fan out now down onto the main straight for the second time. Are there going to be any audacious moves? Toman looks like he might try one on Hoyer, who's gone very deep into turn 1, but he has held on, and he is in 8th position at the moment. He's got a lot of pressure from the Varga Sim Racing car in behind him, though, almost being pushed around turn 4 at the moment. He's really starting to create a bit of a train behind him, is Michi Hoyer.
Yeah, these soft tyres are all coming in. Oh, yeah, there's a crash in the background. Jan Vosnika, 16th place. There is a big crash in the background. Kalashi. Oh, and the one Akko car's involved as well. You just see that in the background. Huge, huge crash. Multiple drivers involved. Jan Vosnika, Kalashi, Ricardo Costa. Jan Vosnika already did. Phil Kraus. Zoltan Hives involved in all of this. That was a big crash. Basically, just no drivers really wanting to yield in that scenario. A little bit further down the order, then we've got the Pescara ADG car of Eros Musculi leading his good friend and close teammate Michael Francesconi. Ignore what's on the screen right there, but we can see this is a replay on board with, I believe, that is on board with Kalashi. There you go, see it in the bottom. And then you see Jan Vosnika comes through, and then just basically, in my eye, the Royal Blue driver probably should have backed out of that one a little bit, but then, you know, room needs to be left and all that kind of stuff. Unfortunately, a lot of people paying the price. One Akko fitting a pretty hefty bill for all of that racing.
Well, yeah, we do have a safety car in this series, don't forget, but that obviously was not enough to warrant it. It's mainly for the oval races, really, so that we can get the old cautions going and everything like that, like you would have in real life, but that really was a pile-up. I have to say that I don't think that was Kolokshire's fault, if I'm honest. I think he was just turned across at turn 5 and 6, and he didn't really have anywhere to go. Span in front of the field, and then Kraus was a bit of an innocent victim. Ricardo Costa likewise. And yeah, that was a very unfortunate incident to see so many cars damaged in that crash, or at least held up. Jan Vosnika was also at least held up by that accident. And yeah, that is a shame to see.
Sorry, P9. Just a contact between Chinchik and Michi Hoyer. Yuri Toman's got through on that, and there was a little bit of a boff into the penultimate corner, and Michi Hoyer is going to defend harder, Ewan.
He is side by side at the moment, and another car coming up in behind, trying to make it 3 wide, maybe. Is it going to go through the middle? Not quite, but still side by side. Hoyer defending hard again. Chinchik getting the position. It's tight at turn 2. Hoyer hanging it round the outside, and Chinchik's going to have to do the same at turn 4, but it's a much longer way round at turn 3 and 4. So he's going to go for the cutback. Can he get the run maybe onto this straight? Well, not always bounced across the curbs, and he might be under threat himself now.
There was a crash as well. 25th place, Danny van der Neet, no rear wing, out of the race. Not sure what happened to him down towards turn 1, but I'm assuming he's been smashed pretty hard into the rear end, and so he is now another retirement from the opening race of the season. We can keep our eye on Shooch, who's right on the back of Chinchik. He's now under a lot of pressure from one of the Maguires. That's Adam Maguire on the rear end of his car, and maybe eyeing up a potential move with just as a bit of a note as well on the start finish straight at the previous lap. Peter Berliak got by Janis Brakshock, so up into 4th place. Maybe a little bit disappointed considering the difference in tyres. He's now trying to close in on Jerne Simoncic, and then hopefully eventually for him, Alex Siebel. You'd say Alan Terzic a little bit too far down the road though.
He is nearly 3 or 2 or 3 seconds at the moment, and it is close in behind. Siebel, Simoncic, Berliak all battling quite hard over 2nd place, and it's all going on still in the midfield as we've been watching for so much of this race, because it has just been so entertaining down here for the lower end of the top 10. Truly fantastic, and Michi Hoyer has been doing a lot of the defending, but now some of that pressure has just ebbed away from him as they all fly across that curb. And now Maguire, big defence on the inside, and Maguire's going to try and go round the outside now, braking early, maybe going for a cutback. He's hit the back. Good defending, to be fair, but no way through there for Maguire.
Yeah, he's got his teammate as well as Maguire right on his rear bumper, being Liam Duval, and now I don't think he's receiving too much pressure from behind. It wasn't the best timed cutback from Adam Maguire, unfortunately, but running wide, no. Just overcooks the corner ever so slightly. A bit of a front right lock-up straight on. So easy to do into that very, very tight 90 degrees. Realistically, considering the entry, is about 100-degree right-hander. And now he's going to be under pressure from Jukka-Pekka Laulu and Noah Roivas behind. To turn 1 again. Moving back over the circuit. Lalu's going to go around the outside of T1 and should be able to make it work on Shooch, but it's heavy on the brakes and nicely over the curb. Easily done. And Jukka-Pekka Laulu then up to 13th place. Action up and down the order.
Yeah, there is, and Berliak has been making some fantastic progress away from the cameras for a moment, because he's getting past all of these prime tyre runners, and he's into 2nd place. The gap is 3 seconds to Alan Terzic. He's got 6.5 laps basically when he made the move on Siebel. He had closer to 7. Is that going to be enough time for the red stripe tyres to pull closer to the prime ones? Here we go with a replay on board with Berliak. It's a big slipstream, it's a big overspeed, and it's a bit of a late one here on Siebel, but the German allowed him the room, and it's fantastic. Look at the braking performance you can get on those alternate red stripe tyres. That is quite startling, actually, how much later you can brake on those tyres, which definitely helps overtaking. As meanwhile, back at the circus, look at all this going on down in the field. It's Stefanko trying to get past Brakshock down into turn 1. 2 very late breakers, and very close to rubbing through the corner round the outside for the second part for Stefanko, but it's a long way round. Will he be able to stick his nose in there for turn 4? Not quite. It's still 5th for Brakshock, and Stefanko's going to have to try again at some other point.
Good attempt though. Nice work from Stefanko. Dennis Jordan flies over the chicane in the background of this. We'll keep our eye on board with Stefanko. He's now got the inside into the 90 left at the end of the back stretch. I thought that was going to be a little bit of a turning from Janis Brakshock. He's got the preferable line running into this S's section. Runs a little bit wide over the first part. Stefanko pulls it back. No advantage there though, and I think that might hold from Brakshock. Just a reminder to those of you watching, wondering why is Berliak on the softer tyre and why is everyone else on the primes apart from Maguire and Duval? Remember that they have to run across the evening. They have to run this prime tyre, the hard tyre, twice in the evening. So they're ticking off one now, so they only have to run it once in the more pointed feature race that comes up directly after this. So they're ticking this one off now, so they can only run one then. Meanwhile, the likes of Berliak, of both the Maguires, of Duval, Caruso, etc., they all have to run the prime twice in that main race.
Yeah, that is going to be really, really bad for them, and especially those guys who are down the order, because it's top 17 who get points here. Chris Shepherd's into the pit lane, by the way, but people like Caruso and Maguire really going to struggle because they have to use 2 primes in the feature race, and they're not even getting any points out of this sprint race so far. So It's not a good day for them as it stands, but it's not over yet, and it's not over for the race lead, it looks like, either. 1.5 seconds is the gap. Meanwhile, the other Maguire is trying to get through on Chinsick, not quite able to do it on that occasion. It is totally breathless stuff out there at the moment. There is battles everywhere, and it is hard. Oh, he's in the back of Chinsick. Great save from Chinsick. Somehow he's managed to keep it going and pointing in the right direction, but that was a misjudgment of the speed that Maguire just had.
Yeah, he's got so much more pace on those softer tyres. Berliak is really catching. He's closing onto the back of Alan Terzic. I don't think it's going to quite happen yet, but we'll keep our eye on it. It's overcooked in the corner. Maguire again. The question does have to be asked for the likes of Ricardo Costa, who I think has been in the pit lane. If they've taken hard tyres twice in this race, obviously pitting and taking hard tyres, if you've accepted your position, you've taken hard tyres twice in the evening, you can run softs all the way through race 2. We'll go through, I'm assuming anyway, I've not got the rule book at hand, so I'm sure our race director will be quick on my heels as we see some racing as Chinchick around the outside of Michi Hoyer. There's contact there. It opens the door for Maguire, maybe Deval as well. Is it going to do so? Certainly does. Deval sneaking through. Look, Michi Hoyer dropping down the order, remaining side by side for the chicane. That's not a good idea. That is not a good idea, but he's going to hold it, potentially with a warning track cut to his name. But Michi Hoyer on the inside of the bout should be easy pickings to hold that position. Certainly does so. 11th place, feisty work, 9th to 11th. Not really going ideal for Michi Hoyer. One further position, 12th place. Is it really that bad? He's getting attacked by all the people that are on the soft tyres at the moment. Here we go then. Race lead. Alan Terzic been out in front all afternoon, at least in the first race here. Peter Berliak on the softer, the red wall tyre. Now on the back of him. You'd be hard-pressed to say that Terzic is going to hold on to this. Peter Berliak, of course, a 2015 world champion, moves to the outside of turn 1. Lovely in the slipstream, heavy on the brakes. Alan Terzic still there, but it should be an easy move. And Berliak heads to the front. The first race of the season here in the Race IndyPRO Championship. And Peter Berliak takes the front. Terzic shouldn't be too disappointed though with second place. We've got further battles heading down the order. Again, Maguire and Chinchick. Oh, there is a lot of paint being traded here, Ewan.
There is an awful lot of paint being traded, wheels banging everywhere around the circuit at the moment. Also with Siebel and Simoncic, I believe, were battling there. It's allowed Braxok, Stefanko and Jordan to all catch up to that fight. I think Terzic was probably in his right mind there to let Berliak go. He's not on the optimal tyre, is Terzic, and he will get him back in the feature race. I'm assured of that. And if they battle too much, of course, and even worse, cause an accident, then Terzic is going to lose a lot more points than he's just lost there by letting Berliak through. So I think it's a good decision there from the Slovenian to just let Berliak through. But and now here we go back onto the main straight once again. Siebel having to defend all the way to the pit wall. Simoncic is not going to be close enough, but a big slipstream for Martins. Stefanko on Janus Braxok round the outside for Stefanko, and he's going to get that done straight away. Very nicely done, actually, as you say, into 5th position for Stefanko, and that is impressive at this stage of the race.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but I was watching Janus Braxok come through the final corner. This car, they are very much on the limit of adhesion. I mean, it wasn't an optimal line for him. He lost a position through doing so, and rightfully so, realistically. But he overcooked the final corner and was sliding it through. It is not a flat-out corner at the moment. These cars are being absolutely hustled around the Indy Grand Prix circuit in the first race of the season, and still Janus Braxok, I think he's overcooked his rear end, because I think he's very much struggling. I was having a chat with Dennis Jordan about the tyres in this series, and he was like, realistically, if you drive smart, the tyres will last, but if you overcook one side of the car, be it front or rear, I mean, that sounds obvious, but like sometimes some categories it's just like you're destined to lose the rear end as the race goes on. In these, no, it is entirely about how you approach the car, especially with a fixed setup. They're all in slipstream, ducking and weaving, trying to find basically the clean air that they can make a move with. Alex Siebel rather holding on from Jerne Simoncic, the podium. Eros Mashuli into the pit lane on the hard tyres. I'm wondering if he's calling it here and taking another set of hards to tick off the 2.
This is so clever from those outside of the top 17. If you're not going to get any points, 17th place is the last place you get points in this sprint race. So Mashuli, and I think a number of guys did it down the order. Get some of your prime tyre stints out of the way now, so you can run red striped alternate tyres throughout the whole of the next race. But here comes Burlak, a phenomenal drive from him, and a very well-deserved win.
Yeah, the first race win going to go his way, and a decent haul of points going to be going the way of Williams Esports' latest recruit, Petter Burliak, through the final corner, picked the soft tyres, started from 6th place, went up to the victory, and takes it here at Indy, the opening race of the season in the Race IndyPRO Championship. Alan Terzic behind him leads Alex Siebel across for a very popular podium, I'd have to say. Jone Simoncic and Stefanko behind, Janis Brakshok, Dennis Jordan, Yuri Toman, Adam Maguire, and Marcel Chinchik rounding out the top 10. Final move on the run to the line. Whoa! It was close between Matteo Caruso on the soft tyres and Zolt Schuch. I'm sure we'll try and get a replay of that one before we move over. That was very tight towards the line, switching positions out of the final corner. What a drive, though, from Burliak. Here we go, on board with Matteo Caruso, all the way around the outside. It's going to be so close to the line. What a fantastic opening race of the season, Ewan.
Yeah, that was utterly brilliant from all of these guys. Sprint racing doesn't often disappoint, and to my surprise, actually, these guys really went after it. The incurrence between positions here in terms of the points is only 1 or 2, really. So you would be, might think that these guys wouldn't be going for it quite as hard as they just did right now. But I'm pleased to say that was completely chaos, complete brilliance from everybody to get through that mostly without accident. We saw that one huge crash down there at the chicane involving a number of guys, but it was a clean race most of all. It was a very, very exciting race, and we've got 40 more laps of that to come, so stay tuned.
Yeah, it was very, very spicy indeed, and a perfect way, realistically, to open the season. We're showing off this format that we have, sprint race into a feature race, and then with the way the tyres work, what a way. I mean, I would have thought, realistically, everyone's going to take the prime tyre, the hard tyre, get one of those out of the way, considering the delta between the two. That said, why not take a risk? And for Burliak, it's worked out. Alan Terzic was so far out front, it perfectly showed the difference between those two tyres, because it was 4 seconds, and Terzic realistically is the fastest driver, I'd say, based on the first qualifying session. Burliak slammed that gap down almost with ease, got by and cleared off.
Yeah, the difference between the tyres is actually quite big, as we just saw there. Burliak was got a pretty poor start. He was nearly ending up in 8th, but he was immediately able to regain his losses by the end of that one, and then he just kept one by one picking them off, and it was a great drive from him, and fully deserved victory. But it really demonstrated to us how much faster those red striped tyres are. As we look now down towards those outside of the points, Michi Hoyer fell through the field an awful lot throughout that race. Not entirely sure what he's struggling with there, because he was on the soft, but he was really just dropping like I've never seen before. To be honest, from Michi Hoyer, he's the race winner in the World Championship, a championship contender for a lot of last season before he eventually fell away, but a very, very good driver. But he's just been shown up by 15 people who've just beaten him, and I'm not entirely sure if I can give you a reason why.
I actually think he was on the prime tyre in that one, in that race. He ticked that one off, so he's done one of those. So he only has one more to take. But either way, 25 points. The way the points work in this championship, because we did allude to it, that it's the top 17 in race 1 that take points. And then in the feature race, everyone takes at least a point. It's all 30 drivers that should be here. One driver missing, David Rocek, unfortunately was unable to come work schedule getting in the way. So he's the only one that's not here. We've got 29 drivers. So the lowest points will go 2 points to whoever finishes in 29th place. The thing is, though, that could be a very, very important win for Burliak, especially if he can salvage a few points, because I don't know where he would have finished in that race, but he got 25 points. The difference between the sprint race and the feature race is only 10 points. It's 25 for the sprint race. It's 35 for the feature. So it's not like, realistically, the wins, of course, the sprint race is less, but it's not so much. It's not like a mind-boggling amount, and it's certainly not a championship-destroying amount.
No, it's not. Let's not get ahead of ourselves here, but it
Oh, that's
might
fun, isn't it?
encourage a few people next week. It might encourage a few people to go for those alternate tyres on this occasion. Depending if Burlack has an absolute nightmare in the next hour in this feature race, then you'll know why he never does it again. But if he does decently well and gets a top 5, top 10 finish in this race and comes out with the championship lead or something, then people are really going to be starting to scratch their heads about what is the best way to go about this. However, I would be astonished if that many people, that's got to be more than 20 people who have done this wrong, and I would be gobsmacked if that is the case. So I think that the guys who are on the primes then will come back to us a little bit, and Burlack will fall away in this race. However, I don't think going on the softs immediately in that sprint race is as bad a choice as some people look like they think it is.
Yeah, well, there's only one way to find out, and that's when we get into the feature race. It'll be coming up momentarily, don't you worry. We're just in warm-up, letting everyone breathe. Everyone get used to a fairly heavy car. We're expecting, as you alluded to prior to the previous race, we're expecting this one 40 laps. Realistically, it's a two-stop race. It is possible to do it as a one-stop race. Basically, I was having a chat with Dennis Jordan, and he says that on the fuel consumption that we've got, we are looking at it being roughly like a full tank could do about 18 laps. So you'd have to fuel save, but you'd have to fuel save and do that on the prime tyre. So when someone comes in and goes on the option tyre, the faster tyre, the soft tyre, they're going to close that gap absolutely massively. So whether it's worth it or not too sure. I don't know how I play it strategy-wise. I'd say probably, considering the pit stop, 7 seconds for a tyre change, and then with the fuel you have to take on in that, extending that just a little bit. I don't know, Ewan. What would you do in this scenario? I'm thinking 2 stops.
Well, I think most people are thinking 2-stop, but I think if you're going to go for a 1-stop at any point in this season, I think today might be your best opportunity, because if you just think how long this pit lane is, you enter midway through the final corner, you got that pit limiter on, and then you're on it for an awfully long time, and out of the garages and back down onto the main pit apron, I guess, and then out onto the circuit again. You do get to release the pit limiter a little bit earlier than you would think. You don't quite release it when the pit wall ends like you would normally, but or not at a normal circuit, but because there's no boxes, they let you do it early. Still, though, it is an awfully long pit lane. So if anyone's going to go for a 1-stop, I think today is the day. However, not many people have to use 2 prime tyres in this race, and I would say that if you're going to do a 1-stop, then you probably want to be doing at least 1 stint on the primes, maybe even 2. So, given that nobody, or not many, only Burlack went for that red stripe tyre on the first race, I don't think he's going to go for an audacious 1-stop. Nobody needs to be a hero in the first round here, I think, and just conforming and following everybody else's choice to go for a 2-stop might be the best choice at round 1, because you don't need to throw a Hail Mary in round 1.
Nothing too risky.
No.
Yeah, absolutely. You never know, though. You might open round of the season. You never know. By the way, right, going into the second race, we said it before, it's a random grid draw. From the finishing positions of race 1, it's a random grid draw between 8th and 12th as to who's going to be starting from pole, and then the entire grid is reversed from that point. From that, P9 was selected, and that is Adam Maguire starting on the pole ahead of Yuri Toman, Dennis Jordan, Janis Brakshark, Martin Stefanko, Jone Simicic, Alex Siebel, Alan Terzic, and then Petr Burliak will be the drivers that are reversed, and then after that Chinchik and so on through the order as was finished. So don't panic about that, and you Adam Maguire fans might be watching this one closely. Should be a very, very interesting race. 40 laps ahead of us. The second race of the Race IndyPRO Championship by FSR, with thanks to IMB Raceway, SimLab and 3D Wrap. With the first race done and how exciting it was. The favourite for this one, I have absolutely no idea. With the pace that Alan Terzic has got, maybe he's going to come through the order. He's already ticked off 1 prime tyre. Maybe he's going to fly through the order, but his aggression can sometimes be a little bit too much. I'm sure he won't. I'm sure he'll attack me after the broadcast for saying that, but it's fine. Yeah,
well, we'll see how aggressive he is in this race. But if you think back to that first race, the top 7 in that race were extremely close. Burlack kind of got away, and so did Terzic. Siebel to Jordan in particular, and even Yuri Toman at the end was really closing in on everybody. So those guys were so close together that I think there's going to be a little bit of a train forming there, and Terzic is right at the back of it. He's going to have to he's going to need a good start if he wants to win this race. He needs a good start. He needs to come out of lap 1 ahead of Burlack, maybe even ahead of, maybe in 6th or maybe even 5th position if he gets a real stormer. And from then, I really think he's got a good opportunity. But if he goes backwards off this start, then I don't think he can win this. I think he'll have too much traffic, even in a 40-lap race, which we're expecting to take about an hour. I think he will still have too much to do and lose too much time behind some of these guys who you're seeing right now. Adam Maguire, Toman, Jordan, Braxtock, the top 4, and the rest of the grid is going to scroll down on your screen.
Yeah, Stefanko and Simičić on the 3rd row, Siebel, and then Terzic, the pole man from the previous race and led most of it. Unfortunately, he was thwarted, at least from his eye, by Petr Berliak, Marcel Cinčić, 9th and 10th, Liam Deval, and Jukka-Pekka Laulu round out the 6th row of the grid. Matteo Caruso, great drive up the order from around 19th, 20th place up towards 13th, getting by Zolcic on the final lap of the race. Noah Roivers and Michi Hoyer down in 16th place, not ideal for him. Jan Vosnica in 17th place, ahead of Jeffrey Fournier, Borja Milan, and then Luke Maguire, not having a quite as good run as the other Maguire, his brother. So way down the order, 20th place. Dalton Hives, Michael Francesconi and Eros Musculi, way down the order for them, and Chris Shepherd involved with that incident at the chicane that Jan Vosnica was a part of. Of course, Ricardo Costa, his teammate, Kaz Rietveld, Danny van der Neet and Phil Kraus, 28th place. Final car on the grid is Dennis Jordan, all the way down the order. No, that's not true. He's been given a plus lap on my screen. No, never mind. Well, that'll be resorted. Don't panic. It's just the nature of how we start. Kalashe, that makes a lot more sense. Just a little bit of a clarification, by the way, before we get into this race, and I'll hand over to you, don't worry. The tyres, I said about maybe the tyres in the previous race with taking 2 primes, doesn't work. The rule is whatever tyre you start on is the tyre that is counted in the previous race. Obviously, in this race, it's well open.
That makes a lot more sense. Well, it doesn't make more sense, it's just a bit of a clarification, and that changes things actually quite a lot, especially for those down the order.
Drivers grid up.
Everybody is going to have to use prime tyres in this race, no matter what you did in that last race. Even if you used 2 primes and pitted halfway through the sprint race, it doesn't matter. You still have to use at least 1 set throughout this race, but we've got a right mixed bag here. Just looking up and down the order, pretty much a 50-50 split between the primes and the alternates, and now the drivers are gridding up. It's not exactly that packed up. Some of the guys are a little bit asleep further down the order, but up the front of the field, very nicely 2x2 ready, raring to go for the feature race.
Yuri Toman handing out a lot of space to Adam Maguire, maybe thinking he doesn't really have the time to fight him. Like you say, it is the softer compound tyre going the way of Adam Maguire, then the harder one for Yuri Toman and Dennis Jordan. We are underway again. Big slide there coming through the final corner on the opening lap of the feature race. Maguire going to lead us down towards turn 1 at least for now, but he's under pressure from Yuri Toman, who is closing massively on the hard tyres to the outside. Surely that's not going to work. Snapping of braking from the pair of them. Oh, we've got everyone flying all over the place in the background. Jerne Simičić gaining a little bit of a space and position. Alan Terzic up to 6th place. My goodness. Oh, and he's nearly hit the back of his compatriot Jerne Simičić. Sorry for the high pitch, but my goodness, that was close. Janis Brakshock, 4th place. Leading that battle between the 2 Slovenians. And Alan Terzic, as I say, on the softer tyre, who's used one of his prime sets in the previous race and doesn't want to quite use that in the early stages of this one. Dropping up and down the order, we've got some battles. I believe we've got Marcel Cinčić and Alex Siebel battling for 9th and 10th place. That's where we're looking at the moment. The Vargason Racing driver battling it out with Evolution and Liam Deval behind. And now we can breathe at least for a couple of corners, you'd hope.
Well, yeah, you'd hope, but I think there's going to be about 3 seconds, and there's going to be another flying battle somewhere, and Terzic is trying to get down the inside here of Jerne Simičić already, really trying to make the progress here around the outside through turn 13. It's going to be difficult, and it's close, but he can't quite get it done. He needs to tuck into that slipstream and get away from Stefanko, first of all, who's going to have a great run on both of them. But here we go, on Simičić, straight up the inside for Terzic. He should be able to get that move stick. And now Brakshock is also trying to make some moves because he's on these soft tyres. And that is a great start from Terzic. He can definitely win the race from here. Although it is not over yet. He has got a lot of cars around him on that soft tyre, and I think it was a great call by Maguire to start on those softs because he has already got a buffer and he's got 2 cars basically protecting his lead right now. Toman and Jordan are inadvertently really helping him right now.
Yeah, he's clearing off, and it is a fantastic choice. Whilst you've got the clean air is Jone Simoncic. I think Simoncic, who's just dropped back behind Martin Stefanko, I think there's a little bit of saving fuel happening here from Jone Simoncic. We know he loves to play a sort of alternate strategy, and he lifted when Alan Terzic was going by. He's lifted when Martin Stefanko was going by. Maybe he's just being like, I'm not going to fight these positions anyway. There's no point in the risk. At the same time, though, we know what he's like. We know he loves to save fuel a little bit. We ride on board with Petr Berliak, who's on the back of Jone Simoncic. Of course, those two having the fight across the season in the World Championship came a cropper in Japan, the penultimate race of the season. A technical failure for Petr Berliak saw him exit that race, but realistically, Jone Simoncic was in a commanding position, and he's going to drop another one here again. The lift, whoa, the lift he had there nearly caused quite a pile-up. He
nearly went. Meanwhile, in the background, Caruso is battling with Voznica, and now down the inside goes Voznica again. These two battling hard. Make sure you get single foul for the chicane though, because that could and can be sketchy. We've already seen. Look at the way they bounce over that curb. It's quite phenomenal. V8 supercar style almost. All 4 wheels off of the ground. Now down into turn 7. Is there going to be any moves? Late defences. In the background from Hoyer, who's made a not so bad start using another set of prime tyres. He does not have to use those white wall prime tyres again here today. Hoyer is going to be super fast to the end of this race.
Yeah, just as a little bit of an update as to those that took the softer compound tyre in the previous race, so you can have a little bit of a thought in your head. Ones that are high up, Adam Maguire, he needs to run 2 prime tyres on the next 2 stops, so he's definitely going for a 2-stop. Tick him off. Done. The Maguires, both of them, Luke Maguire as well is down 16, also took the soft tyres, so he's also got to run the primes another time because he's already on the primes at the moment. Petr Berliak, who is currently running in 7th place, he's on the soft tyres. Oh my goodness! Driving it down the inside is Terzic on Janis Brakshock at T1. Contact between the two, a position made. I'm sure we'll have a second look at that one. But either way, Terzic up to 4th place.
Just about. I don't think he intended to do that actually. I think he just broke at his normal point and then just found himself on the inside of Brakshock and thought, why not? I'll just go for this. And now Stefanko's going to try. Oh no!
Alan Terzic
is going to go around. They're both around. Oh dear. It was looking so good for Alan Terzic. And now we're 3 wide going into turn 8 and 9. This is absolute chaos at the moment. Simoncic is involved in all this, so Terzic again banging with Seabull now as well as Rubers and Voznica. This is absolutely crazy, and there's going to be a lot of arguments to be settled after this.
Oh my goodness me, there's further contact nearly as Liam Duval overcomes the corner. This is ridiculous. Liam Duval's dropping way down the... Oh, it's just a timing thing, but he's gone back up eventually. He's cut across the corner. That's why. That makes a bit more sense. From Terzic, though, way down now after a little bit of contact between himself and Janis Brakshock. Brakshock completely overdid the corner and then instantly tried to fire one back. This is with Duval. We've got Roivers as Jan Voznica goes from does the elevator move one side of the track to the other, moves it across. Terzic gets by Seabull, now sets his sights on the man that's moved him down into this position, Janis Brakshock. Petr Berliak's gained from all of this, but remember he had to take 2 prime tyres across the rest of this race. Oh, wow, here's a replay. Let's talk us through it. Janis Brakshock on board with.
Let's try and figure out what on earth happened here. I think Brakshock trying to defend from the car in behind Stefanko was just outbroke himself, really, against Terzic. It must be at some point, but there you go. He definitely broke too late going into the... I think that was live, actually. But going into that corner there, turn 8, just broke too late. Ended up in the back of Terzic. He's actually fortunate he didn't lose his front wing in that because it wasn't a soft hit, let's say. And we're going to try again here for the replay, see on board with Brakshock what exactly happened. And here we go. This might be the one. Stefanko down the inside is going to pop up on your left-hand side. And Brakshock is going to break late to try and defend. Spin himself around. He's kind of helped Terzic back the right way, but he still lost the Slovenian a load of places and then caused this mess down at turn 8 and 9. Let's have another look down here. Now down in 8th position, of course, is the John Lacey esports driver just a bit of just too late on the brakes there from Braxton. Not really much to say about it, but it did cause a really big moment here with Simonchich and Siebel and seemingly everybody and his dog involved. This is just unbelievable scene through here. I don't know how they all got away with it unscathed. I guess Liam DeVal didn't really, but meanwhile back live, Stefanko has found himself in second place, and Toman and Jordan are having to do a lot of defending at the moment.
But here's the thing with Toman and Jordan is they've taken the prime tyre in the previous race. They're on the prime tyre now, so they've got 2 sets of option tyres, which they'll take over the final couple of parts of the race when we're going to see this first pit stop. I reckon you'll see the prime tyres coming in first. There we go. Yuri Toman straight into the pit lane, so he's going to get off those immediately. Only he's done 6-7 laps on them. Going to drop these off straight away. Get onto the soft compound tyres. There we go. Beautifully into the box. Nice one. Bit of a look up, but fair enough. Things are looking good for Yuri Toman in this race.
They are at the moment. He's going to use 2 sets of softs as Burlak goes through now into third position on Jordan, who's running his own race. Terzic on Simonchich is going on in the background. It looks like Terzic has got that done on the 2-time champion, 2-time world champion no less. And Simonchich is dropping through the order once again, but he has had a very consistent race so far. He's probably going to lose out to Vosnica very soon as well, because that car is right in behind him and on the soft tyres once more as we go down into turn 7. No moves once again, but interesting there from Yuri Toman. He's got free air, clean air to set the lap times he wants to. He's got 30. That's a move by Vosnica, by the way. How about that? And Simonchich is going to try and come back at him. This is a great battle. Good cutback there from Simonchich. Now down into turn 12. He's going to have to be on the defensive a little bit. But yeah, Toman has got 2 17-lap soft tyre stints coming up, and that is exactly the earliest you can pit. Lap 6, I think if you want to push throughout the whole of this race, lap 6 is the earliest you can, and Toman has taken the first opportunity.
Yeah, the tyres should be good for it as well. Jan Vosnica, a decent move there, decent attempt. Should be an easy one here. Unfortunately, tried to walk it in there a little bit, but it was a bit of a ludicrous display from Jan Vosnica. Nevertheless, got it done eventually and up a position. We've got a few people in the pit lane then. Michi Hoyer, Kalashi, we've got Francesconi, Kaz Rietveld, all in the pit lane, taking that stop fairly early. See where the rest of them fan out. Yuri Toman then 18th place. He's got Luke Maguire, who's been off a few times ahead of him, ready to make a move on. Just closing in, but it shouldn't be a particularly difficult move on the first Maguire will come across. Well, you never know. Maybe the first Maguire will come across this afternoon in this race. We'll see if he comes across the second one a little bit later. We look at the double world champion, Jerne Simonchich. Alex Siebel directly behind, another driver that he's fought with an awful lot over the previous 8-9 months. And then also worked with over the previous couple of years, of course, in endurance racing.
Yeah, that's a bit of a confusing one to get your head around, but yeah, great rivals and then great competitors for the same cause as well, which is a bit of a strange one. But down here into turn 12 again, Toman gets that move done easily on his softer tyres. Caruso is also into the pit lane. He should be out well behind these guys, and Toman now has 8 or 9 seconds in front of him of totally clean air to get his hammer down and really make some inroads into those gaps that are appearing in front of him right now. Maguire is also being caught for the lead of the race. The gap was 5 seconds when Stefanko finally cleared those 2 prime tyre runners of Jordan and Toman, and now it is down below 2 seconds for the first time since about lap 2 really. So Maguire not quite as fast as those around him, and he's starting to lose out now.
Fastest lap of the race goes the way of the freshly stopped Marcel Chinchik. Down in 22nd place, so he sneaks the fast lap in 11.2 versus Adam Maguire's 12.1 and 11.3 for Martin Stefanko, so everything's still looking pretty pacey. We look at Chinchik, Varga Sim Racing with Eros Mashuli directly behind Matteo Caruso, a little bit ahead, fresh out of the pit lane onto the red walled prime option tyre. Oh, it's a frantic race, this one. We've only done 10 laps as well. This format is really delivering when it comes to the action. There's Dennis Jordan in the pit lane. Obviously, he'll drop down the order, but his teammate doing good things. 8th place he currently runs is Alex Siebel, the 2 Evolution drivers who were runner-up in the Teams Championship and the FSR World Championship earlier this year. As Phil Kraus, speaking of champions, the Pro Series, that was the one that he won. and in pretty decent stead as well. So basically what I'm getting at is we've got some very good drivers on this grid.
We have, yes, and I think that Toman is the uppermost of them at the moment. I think he's in the net race lead as Rubers is up the inside of Duval and now down through 8 and 9. Good move, but they cut back, could happen. Oh, that's a late one. Down into turn 10 from Duval, and he's going to leave himself a little bit exposed. But here we go, down into turn 12 possibly. 3 cars into 1. Doesn't often work, but and there's it's a late one.
That's in the wall. That's a big one. That is
2
big.
2 cars off with a lot of damage going on there. Unfortunately, I think Zook's just misjudged that one ever so slightly, and he's just caused quite a big accident, I'm afraid.
Yeah, Roivers, you could see there with Duval entering the pit lane straight away, will at least fulfill some of his requirement just a little bit earlier than he wanted, and Roivers as well straight into the pit lane to repair some of this damage. Not ideal for them. We'll have a replay of it. Oh, and no, Roivers has spun on entry to pit lane as well. That's not very good for him as Luke Maguire also comes in and dodges all of that. On board with no Roivers looking backwards. Oh, that's so unfortunate. That is so very, very unfortunate. Shooch, like you said, just misjudged it, got it wrong. Hit the back of Duval, and then just Roivers just sitting there thinking, but I just did a really good move, mate. Can you not? Can we not do that? Stefanko then race lead. The change looking to be coming quite soon. The soft tyres of Adam Maguire wearing pretty fast. And Stefanko, the Williams esports driver, definitely not a debut in FSR. It's won a few races and Winter Series as well to boot. And we know how quick he is, considering his past tenure in sim racing. Should be a pretty easy move for the Williams esports driver. Slipstream nicely. Maguire lifts out, doesn't even fight it. Coming out of the pit lane directly ahead of this as well is Noah Roivers, who's obviously just come out. Probably still some damage on that car. He's going to pull off to the left-hand side. You'd hope anyway, at least get out of the way of the race leaders who's coming through. Blue flags will be flown. And they do have to move out of the way. Phil Kraus into the pit lane. Oh, no, Roivers through the fast chicane. There we go. Now he gets out of the way. Hopefully it wasn't too much of a distraction. I don't think it's cost Stefanko anything major. No,
I don't think that has cost too much time. But Zook's the one who arguably caused that accident down at turn 12, has benefited from it. He may well receive a penalty. We do have live stewarding here. So if he does deserve a penalty, then he will receive one and will be notified of it in due course. But I can only presume that they are just looking at that at the moment, just waiting to see who they think is at fault. Was it a late move? Was it too late of a move? And was it Zook's fault or not? That is what they're going to try and work out down there in race control. And we'll bring that to the result of that inquiry to you when we do indeed have it. But at the moment, he's involved in another battle here with Danny van der Neet, trying to get through into 7th place now, both on the soft tyres, both going quite long, but both battling over 7th place.
Yeah, and Bosnicker into the pit lane, so from 6th place, he dives in. Danny van der Neet shoots, they don't, neither does Yuri Toman or Yuka Pakalalu behind. Just whilst you were saying of all of that, Alan Terzic has got by into 4th place, so he's got by Janis Brakshock on his recovery, finally getting by Brakshock after that incident down into the 90-degree left-hander at the end of this straight. We're on board with Petr Berliak, who, when he comes in, he's still got to take 2 of the hard tyres. I will remind you, race winner in the previous one, he's on the back of Maguire, who also has to take 2 of the prime tyres. So this is definitely a legit move. Stefanko, though, he can take another soft tyre. He's done one of his primes, so he can get a soft tyre, another soft tyre. Only one prime that he's got to sit on over the latter point of this race. Maguire out of shape massively on the brakes. Berliak not able to get by yet.
No, not yet, but this is a very important stint for Berliak because he's got 2 prime stints coming up. He's going to run as long as he can on these red stripe tyres and then pit as late as possible, as Maguire is not going to put up much of a defence here. Lifts off ever so slightly. He could be fuel saving himself as well, but don't forget, just because these guys are fuel saving doesn't mean they're trying to go for the one stop. They could just be trying to shorten their actual stops that they are going to make, the 2 stops that they're going to make. But Maguire has been falling through the field at a quicker rate than I was actually expecting, so maybe he is fuel saving, but we'll never really know until we get to about halfway. If he pits bang on lap 20, then we know exactly what he's doing.
But he can't. This thing is, the likes of Adam Maguire, they can't one-stop because they have to take 2 prime tyres. They can't one-stop this race. Some drivers, the likes of Jene Simoncic, keep an eye on them. Although Jone Simičić has been into the pit lane, I do believe. Just double check that. Yes, he certainly has. Was in the pit lane ages ago. Don't panic. I'm just losing track of everything in this race because it's absolutely mad. But nevertheless, yeah, there's some drivers who can, some drivers who can't. We'll try and do our best to keep you up to date on who's in what position as the race unfolds. As we look a little bit further up the order, so Jukka-Pekka Laulu on the back of Dennis Jordan, 9th place, what they currently battle for. Not much between them as well, with Schuch and Danny van der Neet up further ahead. They're all very tight.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any move happening just yet, though.
No, not just yet. The gaps are small, but they're all just running around where they want to be at the moment, just conserving tyres, just biding their time ever so slightly, apart from in this battle for 6th place. These two kind of in their own island at the moment, Van der Neet and Zooks, battling into turn 1. A little bit of a late break from Zooks, but he's going to try and get that cutback out of turn 2. But the problem is, if you try and get a good exit using that curb on the left-hand side, you can lose the rear end. He's not quite got the run he wanted, but he has forced Van der Neet into a bit of a mistake. And now maybe he can get the run through the chicane. However, it does kind of even out. Any run that you get through turn 4 is kind of nullified. However, he's been able to stay close. Can he go to the inside? Fakes it one way, goes down the other side, and it looks like he's on the brakes deep into the corner. But Van der Neet has got the pass redone again, and now Zooks is going to have to try all over again.
Absolutely. I wonder with the likes of Martin Stefanko, who in my opinion is in the best position in this race, because like I say, he can run another softer compound tyre. He only has to run 1 prime. That said, you could do, if he pits quite soon, you might actually expect him to do only a splash and dash late in the race. For a little bit of reference, as Danny van der Neet enters the pit lane ahead of Zsolt Schuch, so he's now in for 6th place. Cas Rietveld's retired from the race and becomes the first, or the second rather, retirement, as Zoltan Hives also out of the race, the 2 retirements. The fuel filling, boring talk here, is 3.2 litres a second, something in that vein. So obviously it's around 21 litres that you can put in before the fuel is effectively the affecting factor in the pit stop, because it's a 7-second pit stop for the tyre change. So realistically, if he comes in, he could do a splash and dash, maybe put in only like 3 seconds, 2 seconds of fuel, and that'll be enough for him to get to the end of the race and fulfill the extra few laps without taking tyres. Is the 5 seconds there really worth it if it's only 2 seconds? I don't really think so. The likelihood is, though, that he is definitely on a 2-stop strategy. It's just what that second stop is going to entail. We are yet to see. We see Jone Simičić with his now direct teammate, Michi Hoyer. Of course, they're both in the Burst esports group and have been for the last year or so, but they're now both a part of Burst Simplexity, where they were a part of effectively rival teams. One was Burst Simplexity, one was Burst Rio Toro in the World Championship. They're now both a part of Burst Simplexity. So that's signed that one, and to be fair, based on how they were last year, both work very, very well together. 1-2 the first 2 races of the season, were joint on points, departing the second round of the season. Of course, Michi Hoyer winning the opening race of the season.
Yeah, he did, and he's doing a really good race now, actually. Getting out ahead of Simičić, he managed to undercut his teammate massively. Presumably, he went for an early stop in this race, got out ahead of his teammate, but now that Simičić is behind him, he was able to use his tyres to get back through, as Caruso and Voznica now battle into turn 1, but that should be a fairly easy move for the Italian, although it isn't actually, because Voznica is battling hard for this one, rubbing a little bit through turn 2, both sides, and a little bit more contact as well. Now then, into turn 4, Voznica trying, this could be dangerous if they do it, but they don't do it. Voznica backs out, Caruso gets into 16th position, as now in the background, there's about a 6-car train, and it is all kicking off.
Petr Berliak, Alan Terzic, Martin Stefanko, Janis Brakshock, Adam Maguire, the end of the 17th lap, all in the pit lane, and so Zsolt Schuch behind as well, all coming into the pit lane. Jiri Toman, who has stopped, he was one of the first drivers to stop. He started the race on the prime compound tyre, now going to come up and take the lead for Varga. He ran the prime tyre in the previous race. He's run his prime tyre already in this race. He's got soft and good to the end. Once he's taken another stop, once he's taken the extra fuel and the extra set of tyres, things may be looking very, very good for Jiri Toman. Dennis Jordan as well, up into second place. Martin Stefanko down to third, and by a hefty margin as well.
What a strategy from Toman. I thought he was going to play out pretty well, but I didn't realise he was going to be leading by miles like he is right now. 2.5 seconds is a pretty big margin over Dennis Jordan. He's got nearly 5 over the rest of the field, as Terzic has not really played this strategy very well because he's down the field, he's on prime tyres, and he's under pressure from Siebel. He could end up losing that position. He does indeed. Siebel's into 10th. Terzic is really in trouble here. Arguably the fastest man in this field, given his qualifying performance and his performance in the sprint race. You could argue he is the fastest person in this server right now, but his strategy has really scuppered him here.
I'm so sorry for the train horn that went off there. That was I was terrified. He was squeezing a gap fairly unnecessarily there, was Alan Terzic. We see his teammate Matteo Caruso. Of course, they've been teammates for a fair while. Matteo Caruso was also part of Singularity, or the Nita Felix group, when they moved out of that into the Jean Alesi Esports Academy, and Matteo Caruso goes around the outside. Oh, who is it on? Zolcic, of course it is. Same as it was in the previous race. Last lap, straight up towards the line. The advantage still goes the way of Matteo Caruso as it did in the previous race, and you'd assume on the brakes, on the softer tyre, even on the outside line, Matteo Caruso is going to be favoured. No, he's not. Doesn't really commit to it too much on the brakes, and Jan Vosnikas closing in behind.
He is indeed on the prime tyres, trying to get through on those battling pair in front. And now Caruso is going to just try and punch out of turn 4, but not close enough. I can't take... Well, I guess I'm kind of drawn to that battle behind, with involving a load of big names like Boya Milan. About 5 cars going into turn 7, all as one here, as the battles and the strategy is just... Oh, Milan's trying to get... Well, sorry, that's Fournier closing in on Philip Kraus at the moment. So it is really all going on here down in the field. This is the battle for 18th overall. And
still points.
Yeah, exactly. It is still points. Basically 1 point of position down here, so it makes things very simple, and also very close. When we add up the championship points at the end of this thing, it's going to be very close indeed, as now they all run out of the final corner, which is not quite flat out, especially when you're in the dirty air. But look at how close these three are at the moment. Van der Neep, Milan, Kraus, all coming across the line almost as one, and this is close. They're weaving all over the place. It's almost like an oval race as they go 3 wide into turn 1. Down on the outside goes Milan, but look at the cutback by Kraus. He's going to get them both. 2 of them are off the road. Kraus is going to gain a couple of positions, and Milan is going to be very disappointed with that.
Absolutely, that was not an ideal move there. Didn't work out, and unfortunately dropping down the order. I just want to refocus ever so slightly, at least conversationally, on what's happening towards the front. Oh, that's a big moment. Oh, my goodness me. Michi Hoyer on the back of Alan Terzic, who's got up into 9th place now, has Terzic. The thing that I will say about the top lot, of course, that's whilst people have pitted. That's why Terzic is moving a little bit further forward, but he's going to come under pressure on the harder tyre. Yuri Toman, who's currently leading the way, is being close in on Dennis Jordan. Dennis Jordan's in the same boat. He's done both his prime tyres, prime in the previous race, prime to open the stint. Martin Stefanko, he's got a prime tyre that he needs to take, so he does have to take another pit stop. They all do, but it's just the thing is that Stefanko's got to go onto the slower tyre, but he's on the faster tyre now. And maybe he can get up into the lead, like push it a little bit further that way. I don't know where this race is going. I love it. This is perfect.
It is really good at the moment. The strategy is going on, but I think it's Toman versus Jordan really for the race lead and the race win in the end in this one. I think Simoncic, if he was a bit further up, then he would be up there, but he lost an awful lot of spaces and places in the opening kerfuffles that took place on the opening laps. He just lost too much track position, and now he's caught behind it all, despite the fact he's got a good set of tyres to come in the final few laps of this race. He's got Maguire and Braxtock just in front of him, but as I said, I think it's Toman versus Jordan for the race lead. If Simoncic can pull this one out the bag, then I will truly have seen it all, but I don't think he can do it for once. I don't think Simoncic is going to win.
He's got a lot of work to do and a bit of a mountain to climb if he is indeed going to do so. But you never know. You'd be an unsmart man to rule out someone of Simicic's calibre, and he's not ruling himself out just yet. On the back of Maguire through turn 1 was closing up on a potential move, but of course, like you say, it's the alternate, it's the prime or option tyre rather, the softer tyre, the red-walled tyre in the hands of Jane Simicic, and a few prime runners ahead of him, so on the harder compound. So realistically, you'd suspect he'll get by pretty soon. Although that said, the last time we went racing around here in FSR in the World Championship, things ended in a fair incident for Jerne Simoncic. I don't really fully recall it, but it was pretty feisty through the first chicane, and he ended up paying a fair price.
Hello, now we go for the race lead. Toman, Jordan and Stefanko. As you mentioned earlier on, Stefanko still has a set of prime tyres to run in this event. He's going to take that at his final pit stop, which is surely coming up. Well, his pit window opens on this lap now, so any time from now he can come in for the primes, but he's going to stay out for as long as he can on those soft tyres, you would presume, and go for. But Braxox presumably has a set of softs to go, because he's gone straight away. 18 laps for him on this particular stint, as Simoncic has got through on Maguire, so Simoncic has got some space now to close up on Burlak, and then he will try and close up on these three who are now battling for the race lead. Stefanko close to Jordan, but Jordan does not need to worry about the Czech driver behind him. He's just got to worry about Toman. It is just between him for the race lead, because presumably he will be able to get Stefanko on those primes later on. However, if he can keep Stefanko behind, that would be majorly beneficial to him.
You would say though to Dennis Jordan that he would still need to keep checking his mirrors. Sorry, bad.
Nice.
We've got to take one off, at least one off around. Jiri Toman into the pit lane. We knew he pitted very, very early in this race, comes in. He's going to try and get a decent undercut on Dennis Jordan. And to be fair, Martin Stefanko. So now Dennis Jordan needs to put in a monster lap, but he's got to defend from Martin Stefanko directly behind. This could be not so great for Dennis Jordan. I'm sure he'll be in the pit lane towards the end of this lap. Martin Stefanko to the outside, all the way around with the superior grip on his fresh option tyres. What a move. The race lead goes back the way of Martin Stefanko. Dennis Jordan to second. Petr Burliak on the hard tyres, now in third place, is having the championship rival close in on him from last season, or earlier this year rather, in the World Championship. In the FSR World Championship of 2020, went the way of Jerne Simoncic, and you'd feel at the moment that Petr Burliak's not really in a great position, because he's got to come into the pit lane at some point and take yet another set of the prime tyre, so that's not so ideal for him. Jordan surely is going to come into the pit lane straight away, Ewan.
Yeah, you've got to think so, but Toman is in a bit of trouble here. He just came out in behind a couple of cars. He just got out ahead of Voznica. He was looking for short, like he was going to get overtaken, but he really made sure down into turn one on cold tyres. Not entirely sure how, but he managed to stay in front, and I think he's going to just about defend now as well. It's a big gaggle that he nearly just came out behind, and if one of those cars overtakes him, then you've got to think that all of them are going to go through. Fortunately for him, though, he managed to keep out ahead of Voznica, and now he's only got Philip Kraus in front of him, which I can't imagine is going to be too difficult for him. They're not teammates, despite what their similar liveries may indicate. They're not teammates. However, I don't think Kraus is going to be able to put up much of a fight here. And meanwhile, Jordan hasn't actually retaliated or responded to that pit from Toman, so he's staying out a little bit longer, and each time he stays out longer, he's also making his pit stop a little bit shorter, because he needs a little bit less fuel to make it to the end of the race.
Yeah, Varga Sim Racing, the team that Jiri Toman is driving for, definitely a team that's moving forward. His teammate Marcel Cinchik, ex-Blackhawk Racing driver, Varga Sim Racing are moving forward quite a bit as overcook in the corner. Alan Terzic, off he goes nearly on the back of Michi Hoyer. The thing is, with that team, they are moving forward. They've got Mikael Smeedel in the BMW Sim M2CS Racing Cup, which is a mouthful, yes. And he's very, very good over there as well. An awful lot of prize money just round to round in that. I'm surprised they didn't field him in this championship, or at least give it a go. Maybe he's not really an open-wheel driver, didn't really fancy it. But either way, they're not struggling without him, because Varga Sim Racing, with the likes of Jiri Toman, well in contention for the opening feature race of the season. Michi Hoyer to the pit lane then, as he's going to dive it in and probably take another set of, well, I'm assuming, option tyres.
It will be. He's got two sets of softs to the end of this race, because he started on prime tyres. It's a bit of a longer stop, because he's got longer than that tyre change he's going to take to fill up 40-litre fuel tanks on this one, of course, and obviously 21 litres you can get in while you're still changing tyres, but you can't get it all in, so he's just having to stay out a little bit longer but now he is out. He's going to be behind Braxop, which we were expecting. Is he going to be ahead of Chinsick? That is the question. Just about, it looks like, as we go down into turn 1. Chinsick is close, but Hoyer just about ahead, and those two are going to be fighting pretty hard throughout the rest of this race. Hoyer has recovered this well, though. He had a pretty disastrous sprint race, but his feature race has been much, much better.
Yeah, he does well in the longer races. Of course, done a fair amount of endurance racing and has that pedigree in him. So the longer races work more in his favour. Take Malaysian Grand Prix last season in the World Championship. He came good at the end, and when I mean at the end, I mean at the end. Final corner of the final lap of the race around the outside of world champion Jone Simoncic, and defending world champion at that point. Of course, he still will be heading into 2021. It was an impressive move, but now he's got Chinchik on his rear end, and Chinchik's a very, very aggressive driver. Locks up the rear end a little bit, goes for the undercut, but it's going to leave him on the outside of the final corner. There's further contact between the two. As ahead of this, Danny van der Neet, as well as half the other grid, have come into the pit lane. Matteo Caruso, Phil Kraus, Alan Terzic in again, of course, to take another set of tyres. I think he's got another prime tyre to take, isn't he? And then Danny van der Neet, all in the pit lane. So things not working out for some, things working out for others. And Marcel Chinchik demotes Michi Hoyer outside of the top 10. Alan Terzic he's got an option tyre left, so he's on the soft tyres. Oh, as there's contact, there's further contact. Big boffs.
Big slide as well for Chinchik, and Hoyer's struggling to hang on, but Chinchik has got it done on the outside, or has he? Hoyer's going to try it through the chicane. This is going to be dangerous. Oh my goodness, that was the biggest airtime I've seen in a car for a very long time, but Hoyer has got up into 10th position ahead of Chinchik. That was very, very interesting indeed. That will make the highlights, I can imagine, because that was very spectacular, but not particularly effective for Hoyer. They need to really work together, and now Simoncic gets down the inside of his long-time championship rival Petter Burlak, and now Burlak on those prime tyres starting to fall back. Simoncic coming to the fore.
P6, look at P6. Dennis Jordan next in the pit lane, and Yuri Toman on the outside is going to have the clear ride. Oh, the fuel, the less fuel that Dennis Jordan has taken on has given him the potential race lead. Dennis Jordan, 6th place, ahead of Yuri Toman. Toman, though, is going to be on warmer tyres, so if he wants to make a move, it's got to be done pretty soon. You wouldn't want to see those two going side by side for the chicane, not with the potential race that we've got coming up. This is going to be very big fisticuffs over the next sort of 12, 13 laps to see who's going to come out victory of the first feature race of the season. Dennis Jordan, I'd say that his tyres are definitely warming up now. Yuri Toman, rather, is going to have a bit of hard work, but he's got slipstream. Big slipstream on the start-finish straight.
Yeah, I don't think I want to see anybody go side by side through that chicane ever again after what I just saw with Hoyer and Chinchik. I have to almost step back for the screen ever so slightly because it was very scary. But Jordan now against Toman. This is going to be the battle for the race lead. Stefanko is still out there and leading the race. He could play his way in here, but even if he comes out ahead of them, he's going to be on the prime tyres, and he's going to be much slower than these two who look set to battle this one out with 12 laps to go as they cross the line. Toman too far back on this occasion, and he knows that he's going to have more opportunities later on, just biding his time for the now.
Yeah, and those of you thinking, how would Stefanko come out ahead of this? When he comes in to do that pit stop, it'll be 7 seconds that he has to be stationary. But the thing is, it's only going to be 7 seconds. Maybe Yuri Toman and Dennis Jordan had a little bit extra because they needed to just put a little bit more fuel in. Of course, realistically, Stefanko's not going to have to put in that much fuel, as we've still got further racing down the order. That from the race director, broadcast director, having a bit of a scary moment as Janis Brackshot continues to steal the limelight on the broadcast, battling with Alex Sewell now for 7th place.
Yeah, that was an interesting one down into turn 1. They were very close indeed through the chicane, and actually very respectful through turn 3. We've seen a lot of squeezing down there at that right-hander, and a lot of sideways moments, particularly for the one on the inside on the curb. And fortunately on that occasion, it was actually very, very clean indeed. But Toman now starting to lose a bit of pace, lose a bit of time on Dennis Jordan, who's just lit the afterburners, and he's got 1.5 seconds already. He's got a lot of clean air at the moment. He's got the victory in his sights, and he's just pulled away from Yuri Toman. That is not good news for the Varga sim racing driver at all. He needs to be very close indeed if he wants to make these moves. I don't know if there was a mistake involved there, but Jordan looks very fast at the moment.
Yeah, Dennis Jordan is flying. He is closing in on Stefanko. So any hopes of Stefanko holding the lead on even on the harder tyres are fading now. He's got his teammate directly behind. So at the moment, as things run, it's a Williams esports 1-2. And you'd say it's probably not going to end that way, at least with Petr Berliak, who's got to take yet another set of the harder tyres prior to the end of the race at some point over the next 10 laps. He's got to come in again, which isn't really ideal for him. And indeed, he has done so straight away. So into the pit lane, Petr Berliak, we ride on board with race leading Martin Stefanko. He's got a little bit of traffic up ahead, but it won't worry him too much. It's Luke Maguire directly ahead of him. We've got the likes of Borja Milan as well. Bit of a train. Maybe he'll fancy pitting in pretty soon, but he doesn't want to go onto the harder tyres because he's obviously got to come in and go on the hard tyres. He doesn't want to do that until the last moment possible.
He doesn't want to no, you're right. He doesn't want to go on those primes for longer than he has to, but he also doesn't want to have to negotiate this lot who are absolutely fighting it out. It's Caruso at the front of this train in fifth. Oh, that was close. Berliak and Simoncic are going to fight this one out, although Simoncic is on the softer tyres. He looks like he's going to take a podium here, and Berliak possibly fourth, although there's going to a lot of guys behind him trying to overtake him. But meanwhile, Stefanko has got a big conundrum coming up ahead of him. Caruso is heading a train that goes all the way down to Maguire down in 23rd. That's 8 cars. And as you can see in front, they are battling with each other at the moment. In the background, that's Fournier and Vosnica. Fournier just prevails in that one. But Stefanko, despite having blue flags, is going to lose time here.
Yeah, absolutely. My brain is getting fried by this race. Dennis Jordan also clears a little bit of traffic himself, and as you say, he'll just be losing a little bit of time, a little bit of distraction in the distance, especially considering that Maguire is catching Borja Milan. You're kind of thinking, oh no, please don't battle. I'm coming through, and I'm trying to get some decent points here. The thing is, at the moment, for those of you watching, wondering what's going on, so Dennis Jordan, he's completed his pit stop and is effectively in a potential race lead scenario, depending on what happens when Stefanko comes in. Yuri Toman looks like he's in second, and Jone Simoncic, after that pass on Petr Berliak, looks like he'll be in third. But the thing is, I think he might be in fourth once Stefanko's come into the pit lane, because Stefanko's come out ahead. But he's got to go onto the harder tyres, and Jone Simoncic is on the soft, so realistically, you'd say that does favour Jone Simoncic. Petr Berliak, who's currently in 5th place, he's done all of his pit stops, he's taken all of his primes, but he's on the hard tyres. He's got Alex Siebel behind, he's got Janis Brakshoff behind, Michi Hoyer, all of them closing on that soft tyre. It's going to be hard work for him. We're on board with Borja Milan looking backwards to Luke Maguire, who's gone down the inside, and there's your race leader watching them all lock up in the distance for him.
Yeah, that's not good news for him at all, but they're battling and keeping a decent pace here. Let's not forget that these are... Oh, and a big slide there for all of them. It looked like Costum. Sorry, that's Caruso, DNF, on the left-hand side. No, don't know why. It's Mashuli also
as well.
DNFs. I wonder if those two came to grief in the same incident. Not entirely sure, but this battle now becomes one for 20th. But now they're getting in the way of Stefanko. We'll try and get a look at what happened to Mashuli and Caruso. It might just be 2 separate accidents, but it looked like they definitely came together at some point. 2 Italians, and looks like they've just locked horns, and it's turned out badly.
This is in front of the race leader as well. This is terrifying. There's contact. They're both going to go straight on. Martin Stefanko, where is he in all of this? He has got through and cleared the traffic. Contact then between Borja Milan and Luke Maguire. I think there's near further contact as well. Stefanko's taken a bit of a breath, thinking, God, thank goodness for that. As he clears off, and 26.3 seconds clear of the field at the moment, swerving, weaving, thinking, what are you doing, mate? Here's the replay. Is this the one? On board with Matteo Caruso. We'll need to look back. There's Eros Mashuli on the run towards turn 1, and what you're going to see is someone misjudging their braking zone, and
well, I'm not entirely sure how to call that one. It looked like a bit of a late move under brakes, although the person behind does have to be careful about where they're braking and where they're placing their car as well. So that is a difficult one. I think the one early with Zooks was down into turn 12 was a little bit more clear cut, but that is a difficult call. That is.
The thing with that one is Matteo Caruso, as much as he did start moving back over to the left, which isn't necessarily illegal, it depends on how, basically though, the amount of space that was on the left-hand side there was so much room there. So realistically, he can slightly move over as long as it's not dangerous, and that one's going to take a little bit of a look from the race director, I'm absolutely sure, and maybe a post-race investigation. Martin Stefanko, pit lane, here he comes. He'll be going onto the harder tyre. is our race leader, Martin Stefanko. But Dennis Jordan will then take, you'd presume, the race lead here at Indianapolis, the first feature race of the season. There's the tyre change done. It takes 7 seconds, and it will only take 7 seconds because he doesn't need to take any extra fuel past that point. Stefanko is moving, is underway. We look from Dennis Jordan, who's 5 seconds clear. You said he lit the afterburners. He has absolutely lit it up from Yuri Toman, and I think Yuri Toman's going to come up behind Stefanko. Stefanko, he's gone past the pit line, so he set it off. Dennis Jordan's coming, so Stefanko's actually net race lead, but how long will it last?
Well, this is the big battle now. 6 laps to go, and the tyre difference between these two will say it all. Dennis Jordan, not particularly well. I don't think actually. I might take that statement back a little bit about Toman. I don't think he's. I think that he is going a little bit slower than everybody else, rather than Jordan going quickly, because Jordan was not able to get the undercut despite being on newer tyres on Stefanko. The man in front, the Czech driver, was still able to keep in front despite having to go through all that traffic, being on older tyres. So Jordan can't have been going mind-bogglingly quickly, but I think Toman was just going backwards quicker and quicker, and now he's really paying the price. He might get overtaken by Sebring at some point, but this is the big battle now. If Martin Stefanko holds on to this, then it's going to be the greatest defence I think we've ever seen in FSR, pretty much in history, because the tyre difference between these two is pretty big. The delta between the primes and the softs is quite big, and he's got a big job on his hands now as Stefanko.
That said, though, Dennis Jordan's on 7-lap-old soft tyres, and Stefanko's just slapped on a brand new set. You'd still argue, woo, heavy on the brakes because Dennis Jordan there. I think that would be a little bit of a wake-up call to the German, and be like, oh yeah, no, actually, maybe I do need to focus on what's happening in this race. Dennis Jordan desperate for the victory, and whose favour it goes to, we don't really know. As I say, slightly older soft tyres, and Dennis Jordan's a driver who he won't take an unnecessary risk. Dennis Jordan's a very, very well calculated driver, and that's why strategy-wise he's nigh on perfect. He's definitely one of the strategy guys, along with Alex Siebel. They work so hard on strategy over on the endurance scene, closely with the likes of Jene Simracers as well. They're all very, very good on strategy. And to be fair, that's why we go and ask him what's happening on strategy, because he's always the one that's in the know.
Yeah, and it's played out very well for him at the moment. Running around his second position right behind Stefanko by dint of his strategy. Stefanko not quite in such a strong position because his strategy hasn't been quite as good. It's left him on the prime tyres right at the end, having to defend from some red striped tyres of Dennis Jordan at the moment, but Jordan is not catching very quickly in a straight line at the moment. However, he's so good on the brakes. Oh, he's too good. He's got around.
He's absolutely hard spun there.
And now this job is much more difficult for Dennis Jordan. He had one hand on the winner's trophy almost, and now he's got to reconsider completely. They all have 4 laps to go. Can Jordan catch and pass Stefanko again? That is an absolute lifeline for Martin Stefanko. He has a realistic chance of doing this now.
And he knew that was going to happen because he had it on the same lap. Watch this. He overdoes the braking and thinks, oh my God, I'm going to hit the back of him. But he did the same thing on the previous lap. He knew that Stefanko wasn't strong on the brakes into T1. DJ. Whoa, that's a mistake. By the way, a few laps ago, to show the pace that Dennis Jordan has on these tyres, although we would have warned them there, as it's Berliak. Berliak's gone straight across there. We'll find out what's happened there. But Dennis Jordan set the fastest lap of the race at 10.942 on his way to close to Stefanko. Stefanko had a shorter pit stop. He didn't have to take any extra fuel, realistically, just a few litres that goes into his tyre change. Ooh. There's contact between Siebel, and that's what sent Berliak packing over the grass infield there.
Yeah, bit of arguably a bump. Well, it depends who you ask, really. Was it a bump and run
turn in
or not?
Yeah,
exactly. Did Berliak turn in? Did Siebel stick his nose where it was uninvited? Well, we'll find out soon, I guess. Or after the race. Hoyer now under putting Braxock under a bit of pressure now, but nothing doing down here into turn 1. I think with that mistake, Jordan might have just thrown away this race. 4 seconds, he's actually losing time. And when you spin in these cars, we mentioned the tyres earlier on, it's not really about the wear, it's about keeping them in the window. Once you've lost them out the window, you can't really get them back. And Jordan, having had that half spin, just a half spin really, he might have just lost those tyres.
Yeah, I'm looking at it in game as we see the move from Michi Hoyer and Janis Brakshock, who was weaving all over the place to try and break the slipstream of Hoyer up to 7th place. You said this race was going a lot better for him. It certainly is. 16th to 7th for Michi Hoyer. Great drive thus far. So 7th place. Maybe there's a little bit more to grab. He can maybe get to the back of Petter Berliak. The gaps that you're seeing on your screen, they're not... I take them with a pinch of salt. That said, there is only 2 laps to go in this race. But Dennis Jordan, he's closed it a couple of tenths. I think his tyres are okay, they're just not ideal. And with that mistake, this race swings very much in the favour of Stefanko with 2 laps to go.
There is not enough time left, surely, for Jordan to close this gap down and have a go at Martin Stefanko. I really thought that Stefanko was going to finish, at best, 3rd position in this race. I didn't think his strategy of being on the primes at the end was going to work out for him at all. I thought Toman was going to get to him first. I thought he would be one to be leading the race, and I thought Jordan would get through easily as well. Maybe even the likes of Simoncic added on to that as well. But Stefanko has somehow made this work with some absolutely blistering pace. We know he is quick. He has won races in the World Championship before. He's won a whole championship in 2017, the Winter Series. We know he is a good driver, but I didn't think he was going to be able to pull this off. But I think with only 1 lap to go, he might well just pull it off.
Yeah, we've got to look at the battle for 3rd place, which we see Jone Simoncic on the back of Yuri Toman now. Final time into turn 1. Is he going to be able to do it? Which side is he going to pick? Inside or outside? He's got the slipstream, he's got the fuel, and he's got the bravery to do it. Jone Simoncic is going to go down the inside of Yuri Toman. Is Toman going to really fend it off? It's a battle for the podium. Yuri Toman around the outside is going to give him the inside for 2. Jone Simoncic was trying to keep it there and wasn't quite able to. Toman hangs on. The desperation for a well-earned podium of Yuri Toman. This second stint on the option tyres hasn't really worked out for him necessarily. He's not shown the pace of the earlier race, and he did some fair leading in that time, and unfortunately for him, it's just not really working out. That said, a 3rd place, like I said, would be a well-deserved position. There's not many more attempts. Realistically, there's only 1 further for Jone Simoncic to get by Yuri Toman. Front of the field, though, coming through the final sector, who'd have thunked it? Williams Esports, one of the strongest teams in sim racing, join FSR for the Race IndyPRO Championship. They win the first race with Petter Berliak, and the second one, with excellent strategy, goes the way of Martin Stefanko. Dennis Jordan potentially threw that one away. 2nd place for him, and Yuri Toman is going to hang on to the podium. Great stuff from him. Simoncic and Siebel round out the top 5. Petter Berliak, with a bit of a risky strategy, is under heavy pressure on the dying moments of the race from Michi Hoyer, but is going to hang on to 6th, 7th for Hoyer. Terzic, only 8th place, had that incident a little bit earlier with Janis Brakshock. He's run out of fuel. Janis Brakshock, 11th place, running out of fuel.
Going to make it. I don't think he's going to make it.
No, me neither.
Oh, he's going to get out and push it.
He's clutching this in.
Oh, if he... Wow.
He's crawling. He'll make it. It's just in what position he'll make it.
Yeah, he's going to get pushed it. Oh,
that was a hit.
Oh, no, he's gone round.
And he spun him.
Oh, no, and we're going in reverse now. This is even more dangerous.
From the broadcast director, not sure that's allowed. I don't think it is. And that said, I don't think it's helped him either. No. There's Yuri Toman, 3rd place for him. We'll obviously try and grab a word with some of these drivers after the race. You can tell how happy Stefanko is with it. What a drive.
Yeah, that was a brilliant and an utterly brilliant race as well. I'm kind of disappointed it's over, to be honest, because that was just absolutely fantastic from start to finish. Somehow Stefanko managed to hold on. Not entirely sure how. I don't think I ever will know how, but he did. And there's big things to come from him throughout the rest of this season, I'm sure. Also, kind of shows how competitive and brilliant this series is. Alan Terzic finished 8th. He didn't even win a race. I think he's the quickest driver, at least at this circuit. Maybe with this car, he obviously tuned it, so he's going to be very good with it. But he didn't win a race. 2nd and 8th. I think he's going to be disappointed, but it just shows how good this caliber of driver is in here. It was a clean race for the most part, minimal incidents, but one of the incidents ended up defining the race, and that was with Martin Stefanko and Dennis Jordan. Nobody's fault really, and no penalties will be applied for it, but it ended up defining what was an absolutely fantastic race.
Yeah, absolutely. And with that, we can be joined by them pretty swiftly. It's very, very fast moving by our broadcast director to get people in here. Martin Stefanko, the race winner for the feature race here at Indianapolis. Now, my first question to you, brand new championship, tyres, everyone's got the questions, no one has the answers. Did you know that you were on the right strategy?
Well, first of all, hello to everyone. Yeah, in terms of the strategy, we spent a lot of time, thinking about the strategy because we knew that it was going to be crucial. And we were not sure 100% if that was the correct strategy or the best strategy, but I was confident that it was going to be one of the better strategies in the end, and it basically, as everyone could see, it was the best strategy in the end. So I'm very, very happy for Petter as well, because he managed to win the sprint race, even though it was not intentional his strategy. He wanted to go on the same strategy as I did, but he forgot to change the tires. So he managed to win the sprint race, and then the feature race, it was just faultless. It was just perfect in all aspects. So I'm incredibly happy for the team that we managed to win both races. And I was not expecting this at all, because so far I'm not 100% confident with the car, so I was not expecting to win the race. But here we are, and I'm extremely happy and proud of what we achieved today.
Now, with everything being the first round of the season and basically having strategy completely open, no one really knows where you're going. Coming into next week's race, one of the things to note on the calendar is that a lot of people haven't really raced all of these circuits. For one, how do you feel about Portland? And for two, do you feel the strategy will be the same level of openness, or people are going to really, really learn from what happened with your strategy?
I think it's too early to say, because it's only the first race, and it could be different on other tracks. So we have to wait and see. I'm pretty sure that this will be one of the preferred strategies, because the primary tires are just so much worse than the alternative. So the main thing is to spend as least time on the primary tires as possible. So, but it could work differently on other tracks, so it's really hard to tell.
Well, thank you. Race winner then of the first feature race of the season, Martin Stefanko. Congratulations to you and to Williams Esports as well. We'll get to Petter Berliak, but first off, I want to go to a man who maybe he's given a bit of a glimmer of hope to a slightly different strategy. Dennis Jordan played his cards a little bit differently. What happened there?
Yeah, man, I don't know. Like, it was, I thought I had a good chance to maybe get him, but I was a bit surprised. I mean, he's on brand new, but still on the primary tire, so he has to brake a bit early, and I was a bit caught off guard there, and I thought it would be probably a bit different to just spin myself than him as well.
Of course, you're competitive in almost everything that you go in, which is delightful. A bit of a compliment, don't worry. The idea of joining a championship where the setup is fixed, how does that play into you? Because obviously you're more used to endurance racing and that kind of stuff, and basically playing with your setup to your heart's content. How is it driving a fixed setup series?
Well, for one, what is really nice is that you do not have to spend as much time to figure out the setup, which nowadays is quite hard for us with how many events we have to do at some point. So that's nice. I think Alan Terzic, who does the setup for this series, has done an amazing job, in my opinion. I think the car drives nice, difficult. It's a real challenge, but it's a nice challenge. So yeah, I don't know. I like it. I don't know if it favors drivers or not, but I think for us it's really nice.
Well, thank you, Dennis Jordan, for everything you've contributed to this broadcast. It was a great race between you and Martin Stefanko. Second place for him in the feature race. We'll then head to Yuri Toman, who was very much a focus through the early part of the broadcast. You disappeared. Obviously, you pitted very, very early in the race to get off the prime tyres. I'm assuming that's an intended strategy. Obviously, it worked out for the most part. Were you sensing that there was a potential race victory there, or was it just more of a focus of trying to get on the podium?
Yeah, obviously, my goal was to win the race after starting on P2 when I saw that Maguire wasn't soft, or alternatives, as you say. But yeah, it didn't work out in the end. I tried to get rid of the primary tire as soon as possible, as Martin did, and then try to push full gas on the 2 stints on the softs. But yeah, the 2 guys ahead of were just that little bit faster, and yeah. But I'm still pretty happy with P3.
Does it bring confidence to how the season's opened moving into the next round? Of course, opening with a podium in this race against this field. It is a strong field. You're carrying confidence through the rest of the season, I assume.
Yeah, for sure. The pace was there all weekend. I disappointed myself in the qualifying because I could have done a lot better. But basically, yeah, it's very good to see the pace is there, and I'm looking forward to the next races.
Well, Yuri Toman, the final spot on the podium in the second race of the season, the feature race, goes the way of him for Farga Sim Racing. Great stuff from you. And the final person we will interview, the first winner in the season, although, as we have been informed by your teammate, kind of accidentally, Petr Beliak, who started the race, the first race, on the lesser favoured, softer tyre. How did that mistake come about?
Nothing. We were just checking the last seconds, and then since I usually join late to not to spend any fuel on the grid, then I I'm on alternates. Oh, that's okay. Let's try to win the race then, and then hope it works in the second race. And it looks like it did kind of work out.
Does this maybe open up a couple of questions? Obviously, sometimes the greatest things in motorsport are found through an accident. Does this open up maybe a few things for future rounds? Maybe something to consider in future of taking advantage of the sprint race?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't want to reveal much about the way we're thinking, but I guess it's possible if you want to secure points and everyone else is aiming at the feature race, then I guess it's possible to just put options and do top 5 or something like that.
Well, thank you, Petr Beliak there. Like I said, first in the first race, 6th in the second race this evening. Great race for him, and of course for Williams Esports, who are doing incredible stuff thus far in the Race Indy Pro Series. For you, Ewan, though, I think we've come into this. We've had questions, and maybe we've had some answered, but I think we've been given more questions heading into the second round.
Well, yeah, there are quite a lot of unanswered questions about what is going to exactly happen next week when we go to Portland International Raceway on the 27th of September, same times as today. But yeah, I'm just completely mesmerised by what we've seen today in terms of how that action was. It was just brilliant from start to finish. The strategy was all in the air. It was unpredictable right from the first turn of the wheel, and I just absolutely loved every second of it. I can't wait for next week, but as you mentioned, we have got a lot of questions unanswered. What is the best strategy? I don't think anybody really figured that out today.
No, I don't think anyone did, but we'll have to find out what happens next week. 27th of September, we were back, as you said, Portland International Raceway. Thank you to everyone who's watched, and thank you, of course, to the people helping bring the series, IMB Raceware, SimLab, 3D Wrap. We'll see you next time, round 2 of the Race IndyPRO Championship. Until then, thank you very much, and goodbye.